and welcome to Rebels Reaction. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Christine.
This is the show where we recap and react to the latest Star Wars Rebels episode. On this edition, we react to the Wynkahthu job. Christine, your one-word reaction.
Wit.
Wit. So I have to admit, I cheated this week.
How did you cheat?
I hyphenated my word.
What is your word?
Reality check.
That's not hyphenated.
Reality hyphen check.
You can't just hyphenate that.
You can hyphen any word you want.
That is not true.
Okay. Well,
I'll let it slide.
We'll talk about that. All right. Let's go.
You know of the rebellion against the Empire?
Perhaps you referred to the imminent attack on your rebel fleet.
Where is the rebel base?
I didn't know there was anyone willing to stand up against the Empire.
Let's jump into the big three. Number one, opportunity knocks.
Oh.
Opportunity as in Hondo shows up again.
Of course he does.
We open with Ezra and the Ghost crew flying next to a stolen Imperial ship.
A little bit familiar.
Yes. So we see Hondo and what we would have thought would have been a crew with him, but really it's not. It's someone we've seen before, the crime lord Az Morgan, who's just a weird, creepy...
Weird, gross dude.
Yeah, pretty much. Hera's not happy to see him.
She is not.
Not whatsoever. So Ezra tries to convince the Ghost crew to listen to what Hondo has to offer as far as an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And this opportunity includes weapons, proton bombs, and perhaps some treasure on the side.
Which they're not welcome to.
According to Hondo.
Yeah, according to Hondo.
Most of the Ghost crew, and I thought this was pretty interesting, was fairly opposed, at least initially, to working with Hondo again.
Yeah.
Whereas Ezra is like, come on, guys. It always works out for us.
Yeah.
And everybody else kind of just rolls their eyes and says, yeah, but it's sketchy.
Yeah.
So it takes a little convincing and really more of Hondo talking about the possibility, the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he had a really good line, something along the lines of, he introduces this ship that's been stranded or disabled, flying in a storm over the Wynkahthu planet.
Mm-hmm.
And the Ghost crew pretty much says, well, of course the Empire gave it up. I mean, they can get all the stuff that's on there, no problem otherwise. Yeah. And Hondo says, well, we have something they don't. We're desperate.
Yeah.
And
admittedly,
the Ghost crew's, well, yeah, pretty much. We are. Hondo also had a few quippy lines about seeing things his way, directed at Kanan.
Yeah. Always gotta throw somebody a little under the bus.
Whether that was, well, it's not really throwing him under the bus, but just kind of being insensitive.
Yeah.
Whether it was intentional or not. So reluctantly, the Ghost crew elects to work alongside Hondo and Az Morgan to recover what they can from this barge before it's sucked into the storm.
Yeah.
Which brings us to number two. Hondo being Hondo.
Big shocker there.
Yeah, so a big theme of this episode is Ezra trying to figure out, or Hondo's true character being revealed to Ezra.
Yeah.
And there's little opportunities for Ezra to see what Hondo's actually like, because almost to an end, Ezra defends Hondo to the rest of the crew.
Yeah.
especially at the beginning episode, but even throughout, and is always kind of like, yeah, he's kind of eccentric, but or not even eccentric. To me, it really felt like Ezra feels like Hondo is one of the cool kids at school.
Yeah.
And is just willing to forgive whatever happens.
Yeah. She wants to be his friend.
Yeah. And that's really what it feels like. But Hondo kind of continues to have his one-liners or tries to convince whoever he's talking to that whatever he wants is the better option.
Yeah.
And it really starts to rub Ezra. It does rub Ezra the wrong way, but is more revealed to Ezra throughout the episode as Zeb is first named. Hera gives Zeb the lead on the mission.
Yeah.
Ezra's not happy about that, so he's kind of defensive, at least at the outset. And then as they run into trouble on the barge, Ezra quickly finds out that Hondo's only out for Hondo instead of everybody else.
Yeah. Which is not really a surprise to anybody else, but Ezra is still kind of charmed by him, so he doesn't really see it.
Yeah.
Until then.
I mean, from finding out that he left his Ugnaught crew, abandoned them, which is not a surprise, to not wanting to help to find as Morgan or Zeb.
Yeah.
Instead, just offload as much as he can.
Yeah.
It really turns into Ezra feeling like, okay, I kind of know who this guy really is now.
Yeah.
Which is fun to see. Well, not really fun to see, but it's good to see.
Yeah.
Because even though Hondo is probably one of my favorite characters across Clone Wars and Rebels, it's good that Ezra isn't having the wool pulled over his eyes.
Yeah. And in that, it's kind of sad because I do like Hondo, and he is charming. So it's kind of sad to see him finally get to the point where it's too much, where it's like everybody involved, audience included, is kind of like, okay, he's not a good dude. Like, don't listen to him.
Yeah.
Whereas most time it's like, oh yeah, he's kind of a jerk, but he's funny, so it's okay.
Yeah, and that's where I think he gets away with a lot.
Yeah.
Because he does kind of have that charm, and it's not like a slimy sort of pirate that it's almost like Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
Very, very similar.
Kooky dude.
Yeah, just kind of off the wall a little bit. Definitely still out for himself for the most part.
Yeah.
But
comes around sometimes and makes you think he's like, okay, he pulled one out for us.
Yeah, he has a little bit of a heart, but not quite enough to really not be selfish 100% of the time. 99.5% of the time. So number 3, that brings us to number 3, mission accomplished. This is probably one of the first times there hasn't been a ton of adversity within an episode this season.
Yeah.
They don't really, the Ghost Crew has a run-in with some sentry droids, but in the end, it's not the kind of, well, we pretty much lost, so we have to retreat and then come back. It's, okay, let's defend ourselves a little bit and then turn around and still get done what we need to get done.
Yeah.
So, in the end, Hondo as Morgan don't end up with anything.
Yeah.
The Ugnaught that was left on the barge escapes, tricks Hondo into actually transporting him in a case, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah.
That Hondo walks away empty-handed, and then the Ghost Crew ends up with the bombs that they wanted.
Almost all of them that were there.
Yeah. So they get a good haul and lessons learned.
Yeah.
At least from Ezra's point of view.
Yeah.
As Kanan and Hera are trying to teach him that lesson, but it takes Ezra really seeing things with his own eyes to learn the lesson instead of listening to.
Yeah, he has to learn it for himself.
Typical teenager.
I know, seriously. Come from a teacher.
Yes. So that, again, another piece, just like we had with Iron Squadron, a piece of maturing that's going on for Ezra.
Yeah.
And
which is cool to see.
We didn't get as much from the rest of the crew this time, but
A little more Zeb than we've had.
yes, which segues nicely into what I liked, or what we liked. I thought Zeb finally having a real role to play
Finally.
was nice. He definitely was very in charge.
Yeah.
Didn't really take any crap from Ezra at all, even though Ezra was kind of
Being a punk.
was bummed.
Pouting.
Yes,
grumbling.
that he wasn't in charge, especially since he had the contact with Hondo to kind of get the mission in the first place.
Yeah.
Zeb was a little bit overbearing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, I haven't done anything in a while, so I really need to make this work.
Yeah.
I think speaking a little bit to more of his military background, just ordering people around instead of it being more of a team
Yeah.
to accomplish whatever's
that's true.
going on. So that was kind of interesting
He
to
was
see.
the captain of the guard, so he was in charge when he was in the military.
Yeah, but I don't know if that really speaks to the kind of character that he's been to this point. So it was just kind of...
He's always been that way with Ezra. He's always been bossy with Ezra.
Yeah, and I guess that's who most of his instructions were directed towards.
Ezra, yeah.
And he kind
And
of...
as Morgan, who's also a moron.
So he knows he's dealing with this ragtag crew that they're taking onto this barge. So he really needs to...
Just get to it.
Yeah, be in control. I thought Hondo was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think with Ezra seeing more of his true character, there was kind of that feeling of, yeah, he's really not that great of a guy.
Yeah. When Ezra's eyes are opened, kind of the audience's eyes are opened, and kind of takes some of the charm away.
Yeah.
You're less on his side.
Yeah. Or at least less kind of, oh, Hondo.
Yeah.
And just...
less willing to let it slide.
Yeah. But it's still fun to have him in an episode because he's such a unique character within the Star Wars universe and is really just a fun character to have around.
Yeah.
In spite of his turdness.
Yeah. Good word.
I thought this was probably one of the funnier episodes that we've had at least this season, and I think that's directly towards having Hondo in the episode from pretty much the get-go, making the jokes, whether intentional or not, about Kanan or at Kanan's expense, about being able to see, and then several other lines throughout the episode, kind of back and forth that he has with other characters.
Yeah.
Most of it's driven from Hondo, but a lot of clever jokes.
He's witty.
Yes.
Like my word.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
There it is. Do you want to dive into that a little bit more?
Well, basically just that. This, as you pointed out, we haven't had as many just flat out funny episodes, and this one is just flat out funny. Whenever Hondo's involved, he's just a witty guy. He makes jokes, which most other episodes have funny elements, or comical elements, but with Hondo, it's just so much more wit, so much more clever jokes, mostly at people's expense, a lot of sarcasm, but he's just a crack up. And it's so much more of a comical episode than a typical mission-based, it was mission-based, but where the focus is the mission, the focus is the accomplishing something. It's just more entertaining.
Yeah, whenever Hondo's around, it's all about him.
Yeah.
So, just a regular narcissist.
Yeah, sounds about right.
I also thought Ezra's reality check, where my word comes in. So his, again, like I said earlier, that maturing that's going on for him. The nuance that is going on across this season, as far as him growing up and really kind of being exposed to some things that maybe he was exposed to before, but with Iron Squadron, using his story to teach other people a lesson, and be able to reflect on where he's come from,
and the fact that he has come somewhere.
Yeah, being able to see people for who they really are.
Yeah,
which is a skill and something that is really needs to be learned in life, to be able to judge character, even when someone seems like, they're my friend. Are they always looking out for themselves, or is it a give and take sort of relationship? And there's a little bit that Hondo gives sometimes.
Just enough to keep you on his side.
Exactly. But that's pretty much the big things that I really liked out of the episode. Anything that you liked in addition to those?
I liked the little, I can't remember what they're called, the creatures.
Ugnaughts.
Ugnaughts, yeah. He was funny. And I don't like him because he actually drives me crazy, but he's an entertaining character as Morgan.
Uh-huh.
He's just such a weird, goofy, like unappealing, grotesque character.
He's got no neck.
Yeah, which is gross. He just, there's something to him that he adds to the group in an unappealing way, but it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And how he's like, it's the first scene, he's in the background, like scratching his nose or whatever and rubbing it on the side of the ship, and like he's just a gross. He always has drool coming out of his mouth, and then he grabs the gun and totally screws everything up.
Yeah.
Shoots a sentry and brings up a bunch of other ones, and he's just weird, but it's fun.
Yeah. That was one thing that talking about as Morgan reminded me of something else that I like. But yes, as Morgan, he's that slimy guy.
Yeah. Exactly.
Whereas Hondo is he's smooth to a point.
Yeah.
He is charming.
Mm-hmm.
As Morgan's just slimy.
Blah. Yeah.
I did like having AP5, who is the droid. We haven't seen him in a while, and it was
just pops up out of nowhere.
kind of a good reminder of he's sort of a part of the crew, and he's a fun character for me because he's so sarcastic, even as a droid.
Yeah, and
his lines about, well, you have a 39% chance, or
yeah,
somewhere in the
38 point something chance.
Yeah, chance of mission success. And Kanan's like, what? I thought you planned this.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I took that into account. Without me, you'd have a 0%. I thought, again, kind of adding to that comedy. A lot of it was driven by Hondo, but I think AP5 had some good input there as well.
Yeah.
Anything that you didn't really like out of this episode or thought could have been better?
Well, something that bothered me, the ship was full of treasure, and Hondo and S. Morgan kept fighting over one little crate. I don't know if they even opened it at any point to see what was inside it, but they kept fighting over it and fighting over it and fighting over it to the point that that's the only thing they ever actually loaded up.
Yeah.
And the Ugnaught was in it, so they didn't get anything. But they couldn't just like, okay, here's a box, let's load it up. Here's a box, let's load it up. It was like they just kept fighting over who was going to get which box.
Yeah. And I think that's a little bit of where I think that serves two purposes. One, it shows kind of the lack of focus they have as far as a mission.
Yeah.
And both of their selfishness.
Yeah.
But two, it shows that they're really unfocused.
Mm-hmm.
So did I just say that twice?
You said it twice, but
okay.
What's your second point with it?
That's what I'm trying to remember. Selfishness and unfocused.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of going back to that, revealing their character, that they're really out just for themselves.
Yeah.
But there's no real focus on the mission. It's just, what can I grab?
Yeah.
So I guess that ends up kind of being one thing. So
yeah,
that's the one thing that
one thing
that kind of I can see that serving that purpose is it's revealing that character in both of those, both as Morgan and Hondo.
Yeah.
In terms of they're really just out for themselves and
are trying to one up each other also.
Yeah, so Hondo's saying, well, I got us here, I disabled the ship. Mm-hmm. As Morgan's saying, well, I had the manifest, so I know what's actually here. Mm-hmm. But then they don't really follow that, and it's just, well, I saw this first. So a lack of maturity for them as well.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I can see from both characters, and as Ezra matures, that's probably a part of the reason why he's finally starting to see the true character of Hondo.
He's grown up a little
And that level of immaturity of just being selfish all the time.
being totally unable to accomplish anything because they're so self-focused that they're unable to see the big picture and get anything done.
Yeah. I mean, I really couldn't. I mean, on my notes here, I don't have anything under what could have been better.
That's good.
I thought it was a strong episode overall, a fun episode, one that had comedy, one that showed growth in characters, things that we've kind of come to expect from this season. Not a ton of action. The action was okay. There was some, especially as the sentry droids are all activated.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as thrilling as maybe some of the other episodes we've seen this season.
Yeah.
But a strong episode nonetheless. And I think one that is going to kind of continue to drive the story. I'm really curious to kind of continue to see how Ezra matures and if we get more opportunity, maybe if or when, I'm pretty sure it's a when, Maul shows up again.
Oh, yeah.
How that impacts his struggle with the dark side or his flirting with the dark side, especially as he's having these maturing experiences.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting.
And I think the rest of the crew, I really hope that we get to see more of Zeb moving forward. Hopefully it's not a signal because of his demise, because he's not really involved.
Stop saying that. That's horrible.
I keep kind of leaning towards him being the one that.
Stop saying that.
But
That's
we'll see.
mean.
We'll see. Like
You'll
we
break
talked.
my heart.
Like we talked about for our Iron Squadron episode, that we're learning that there's a wider galaxy
I'm just gonna hold
to
till
Star
that.
Wars. So
It's gonna keep me afloat.
We'll hope that that's the case.
Maybe he goes back to the planet where his people have now inhabited.
That's true. Well, they've always inhabited it, but his species.
Okay, whatever. The new planet that they are living on, even though they found others already there.
Yes. Okay. Maybe. We'll see. All right, that wraps up this episode of Rebels Reaction. Be sure to check out our flagship podcast, which should post tomorrow. Star Wars on Tap on Thursday. And then the first Friday of every month. So coming up the beginning of December, we'll have a Force Discourse for you. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at UnmistakablySW and check out our website, unmistakably.starwars.com. We've got lots of articles. My lovely co-host just finished her next episode of her fan fiction.
Yeah, read that.
Rebellion's Call. Actually based on some of the characters that some of the USW crew came up with as we were playing Fantasy Flight's role-playing games, which is kind of fun to take characters that we created and then Christine writes stories about them, sort of based on missions, but not really.
Yeah. So far, there are 4 characters involved that we came up with. There may end up being more. We'll have to see.
We'll see how long the story goes. All right, until next time, this has been Rebels Reaction, and I'm Tyler.
I'm Christine.
Be sure to check us out the next time a Rebels episode airs. Until then, may the Force be with you.